talk through. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Here we are. Welcome to March 1 and welcome to your gut edition, gut health, gut, all the things. I'm so excited that you guys are here and just sharing kind of something that I feel like I have so much more depth and love to, and also like there's so much more like and I guess I'll go into that later. Okay, I'm getting excited, getting ahead of myself. So gut health, gut nowadays is known as our second brain, our digestion center, our stomach, our gut, our everything that's all in there, right? And it's known as our second brain. I kind of originally found this when I was in like my yoga study, yoga teaching, talking about how, okay, we put food in our bellies, right? Our gut digests it, it does all that. And then it's like, but your gut is like that, again, that second brain, that wisdom center that not only digests and processes your food, but every stressor, all your stresses go into your gut. Everything that you put in front of your face, these little phones, right? Autumn said that earlier today. I was listening down a rabbit hole of all of her calls. So I'm super excited to share everything that I geeked out about today with you guys and to help you get March started and your own life and journey started on an even deeper level. It's kind of like personal development. You don't just read one book and you have it all figured out. You're cured, you're mindful, your mindset, right? You don't just read one book. Just like in gut health, you don't just learn or implement one thing, like adding in an extra cup of vegetables and you're cured, or you don't just go through a gut protocol and it's cured. It's an all around balancing system. So to start with for our gut health and like what we know, this is what I wanted to mention earlier right away was we are constantly learning more and more about our microbiome and that overall gut health and what that means to us. A lot most recently has come up, hence that second brain statement. But a lot of it is still unknown. So know that kind of everything is always consistently evolving. And right now, obviously in this moment, we are at like the heightened state of like what information we have. And a year, 6 months, or a year, 2 years, 6 years from now, like we'll keep leveling up because the overall physical system of our bodies is kind of, it's kind of like Mars. Like we don't know that much. We're here, you can physically touch your body, but going down to that cellular level and figuring out not just how something works, like we talk about like how cells work, right? And like what different parts of the cells are, but how they all integrate and connect with one another is something like way beyond the science and the tech of what we have access to. So it's so freaking powerful and so amazing that like I'm able to sit here and talk to you guys. And even as I'm talking, like my gut, my body, like it's doing all of these different things just as I'm here, like presenting to you. So just kind of really opening that awareness, that mindset of how much we know and then how much we don't know, right? Like this is exciting. This is exciting because it will like keep progressing. So what we know now, you are what you eat. Literally your body takes the food in. So whether that is a chicken nugget or a banana, it takes that in. And that is literally the building blocks that create your cells at a molecular level and keeps you as a whole, right? Like I mentioned, stress, mindset, external factors, they affect your gut health. I was sharing with some of my girlfriends this last weekend. I had a really stressful mom experience, trying to like hold in this little energy bomb of Jonathan to not like offend other people. And I had this really stressful experience. And because of coaching, because I'm so aware with like how my body is and how like we just respond to life, I remember eating and being like, I don't even want to eat this because my mind is in such a heightened state that there's no way my gut gives a crap about digesting food right now. It's kind of the thought of like when an animal is sick, they don't eat, right? I honestly feel that when we are sick, like we are meant to like eat simple like celery juices, like simple things and cleanse and fast because the body is focusing on other things. It doesn't care about food right now. That's why we have fat storage. That's why we have these things that like keep us together. Going on a tangent because that excites me as well. There's a lot of too much and too little options for everything and anything in life, and especially in our gut and our balance. So for example, I'll talk later about even fitness and how like extensive high intensity fitness for too long of a span, like just in general. So, doing these back-to-back programs, never giving your body a break. That's where we kind of start to see these physically created imbalances in our health, in our gut, and start to kind of create that like fire in that gut. And I'll call it like Agni. Agni is what I call for fire. But that's kind of like that digestion epitome, like epicenter. So I'll kind of be intertwining. You'll hear as I speak. Basically, the science piece in me, I'm sharing amongst so many brilliant other people that have shared with me. And then also my yoga Ayurvedic background is probably going to come out as it just did with Agni. So to start with, what we already have in our toolkit, Shakeology. So Shakeology is literally a five blend thing. So if you grab your Shakeology bag and look on the back, all of this is on there as well. So it shouldn't be anything like new and surprising to you, but I'm just going to like share with you like how I geek out and really love it. And how I really love it and like how like it intertwines in your life. So for example, Shakeology is kind of meant to be like this blanket, almost like this. When we're balanced, it will help keep us in balance. The gut protocol that I'll talk about later is kind of about when we get to this system or this way of like, I'm 31, I've got a few decades of years, right? Putting stuff into my body, stressors, food, digestion, all of that. And so basically we're meant to get into alignment, and Shakeology is like a really great way to kind of cover those gaps. So you'll notice that a lot of the parts of these blends will correlate into the second part of this presentation that I'm going to share with you, which is the gut protocol, which is coming out March 15th. So the 5 blends of Shakeology, I'll quickly chat you or walk you through them. First is the protein blend. A lot of times people will be like, okay, well, why am I paying so much for a protein powder? And it's just like, okay, this is way beyond protein. And if it was just protein, it still is the highest quality that you can get, because there's these 2 separate types, whey or pea plant-based proteins. And basically they're both set up with all 9 amino acid profiles. So they're blended. So Beachbody could have just thrown pea protein in there and said, hey, this is a vegan protein. But instead it mixed the pea with the quinoa and the different proteins to make sure that we created this full amino acid profile. And that's why if you've ever heard of like animal protein being a full amino acid profile, that's because animals eat grass, and they have this way of like creating it already. Whereas if you're plant-based, we're creating that by putting puzzle pieces together to make that full, complete protein. So every food source of protein has a different amino acid profile. Excuse me. Shakeology has all 9. And then each batch of Shakeology is tested 1,900 times for heavy metals, which is huge for my people. We're all worried about getting the metals that are kind of just all around us nowadays, that heavy metal that we talk about and hear about all the time. So know that like that is something that just is consistent with our overall supplements, but then specifically within Shakeology as well. Adaptogenic blends. This is my favorite. This is why I actually tried it 3 years ago when I was like, I'm actually already using Garden of Eden protein. It's a clean protein. It literally just had 1 source of protein type in it and no artificial flavors. So I thought I was winning the lottery there. And then they quickly shared with me this adaptogenic blend. And basically adaptogens are those herbs and mushrooms that are grown in like a high stress state of environment grown in. And hence they know how to manage and work alongside of your body, alongside of themselves. And then when we ingest them, they work alongside of our bodies to help manage stress. So and even energize you and like boost energy. So whereas like caffeine will just open up your veins and like make you awake and just like force you awake, you're awake here, right? Adaptogens, mushrooms, and these herb blends work with your body to wake you up. So it's a much cleaner, if you've ever heard of even like green tea, it's a much cleaner and like system that works with you instead of just shoving yourself full of more and more coffee. So adaptogens are my favorite. You'll always hear me talk about like ashwagandha. That was one of my specific supplements that I was supping with before I started coaching. And then it also like I mentioned, combat stress and promote cellular regeneration. So that's something really specific. A lot of times people are asking me about collagen and the research, and I'm here speaking to them saying there's no actual research saying it helps with like skin, not saying that collagen is good or bad. This isn't a call for collagen, but it's saying that literally adaptogens like your mushrooms, your herb blends, those are things that promote cellular regeneration and keep your body like vibrant, energized, and light. Okay, so that's the second blend. The third blend is the superfruit blend. I'll try to race through here. I think I'm doing pretty good on time. Whoop. Excuse me, guys. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the superfruit blend is the third one. This is your immunity boost. COVID came out, like this is kind of where it's at. We're looking at exotic superfruits, and this is kind of a reason why Shakeology is actually not certified organic, but is organic in the sense of the highest quality, and if not higher quality than just the seal that says organic, because we're sourcing so many like intense, like chemo, like these amazing super fruits. And they're so exotic that we need to make sure that we don't have the capability to like go out into each of these like jungles, right, and do this. But anyway, so the superfood blends is kind of where you get your immunity boosters, antioxidants. They kind of, if you haven't ever heard of them before, a good way to kind of think about antioxidants is like the brighter the fruit, that antioxidant in there, and then it actually like finds and destroys free radicals. Free radicals in turn are those things, and this is like obviously my interpretation of everything, you guys, but free radicals are the things that kind of like bind together and make things in your body that are not like natural in your state. And so when things aren't natural, that's when your body starts like sending, what is it, the white blood cells, and we start attacking, and we're attacking our own body, but it's like whatever, it's just this whole ordeal, right? So superfruit blend is kind of like I mentioned, immunity boost, and just keeps all that. Super greens, obviously I'm a veggie and a greens obsessed. This is kind of your detoxifiers. There are cleanse and filtration system. One coach mentioned that the super green blend is literally like your liquid Drano. So it just like keeps everything like well running, well moving. That's why you'll kind of notice, like if you've ever had issues with like bloating or anything on Shakeology, a lot of times it's the super greens, because your body is not used to the actual full dose that it needed. And so it's either bloating or holding something in. So I always recommend just like bumping down to like a half scoop for like a week. And then slowly bumping up from there. But super greens, they alkaline our bodies. And basically that reduces chronic illness, because a body that's in an acidic state is a body that kind of supports those growths. I actually have like notes I could look at that might make this. I'm like speaking all off, like, I love it, I can do it, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything amazing. But yeah. But basically when you're in the acidic state, that's when things can grow easier, especially when you pour like some sugar on it. So it's got like, I always like to think of kombucha, pour some sugar on it. So it's got some good things, or bad, I guess, things that it can eat. And that's when the super greens kind of come in, and they alkaline the body and make it not as sustainable of a place to live for things that don't belong there, such as any like those chronic illnesses, inflammation, those types of things. All right, our last one, and this is kind of where we're all here. Digestive blend. So the fifth blend, you can read about this. You can see these on the back of the bag, on your Shakeology bag. But literally this is, like I mentioned in the beginning, that clean slate that just kind of keeps everything balanced when you're in balance. So what that said is, if like me, I'm coming in with a few decades of like mac and cheese under my belt, right? Like my body is still like trying to figure out like where I'm at and trying to get all of that like gut health back in check. So there's like, and like this here, the statistic, there's approximately like 70,000 people, 70 million people in America suffer every day from some form of digestion issues, whether that's gas, bloating, IBS, anything with your digestion, constipation, loose stools, all of that. So, and there was also a study, Beachbody just like threw out, what's it called when you like reply to something? We just did, we filtered like we polled the group, whatever that is. And it was like 70-something% of everybody in Beachbody had suffered from some kind of digestion issue. So it is so common and so rarely talked about. I mean, even like whatever that like childhood thing is growing up. I mean, our poop really does say so much about how our body is working. And it's just so interesting that it's just like this taboo thing when it's the perfect, like, it's literally like your temperature gauge, like how your whole body is working. So digestive blend has fiber, prebiotics, and probiotics, and digestive enzymes. So the prebiotics are literally just the food for the good bacteria, the probiotics, and that fiber Danny talked about in our sweat studio last week. Basically just those two different types of fibers, and then your digestive enzymes. So those are, they're really powerful. You know, anything that goes into your gut, these enzymes start to jump and take in. And that's kind of how the gut works, is keeping those enzymes in check and in balance. And so you can imagine when your body is taking in food and it's doing like the gut's doing its normal job of just, a piece of broccoli. Sure, I'll break it down. And you're breaking down a piece of broccoli, but then over here, you're having a panic attack because you lost your son for 3 seconds at a water park and you think that he died, even though he's been gone for 3 seconds. Like, you can imagine how like your gut will like seize up and not care about this broccoli and focus on like the fight thing right in front of it that it has to like address, that stressor, that thing that it has to take care of like immediately. So all those sorts of things in those heightened states, your body's created for it, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's well balanced for it. If we are putting things in there, like if you ever like artificial flavors, anything artificial that like you can't pronounce on the back of your food label is all things going into your body. And it's just kind of like, we'll do our best. And it starts like getting a little out of whack, which is why the gut is so powerful and something that's like, I feel so talked about right now. It's such a hot trending topic because we are coming out of this really intensive state. And a lot of times we're not even like coming out of it. We just think that we are because we're going from COVID to World War III or wherever you are in your mindset right now. Like there's always things that are just kind of jumping at us that 50, 100 years ago, we wouldn't have access to this sort of information. I think it's just within the last 100 years, from the information you take in now to the 100 years ago, that person would have had access. The information that person had access to, you have access to in one day, or you get that much information one day. Whereas 100 years ago, that person was its entire life. Like that is a ton of information. And when all of that information has to be digested in your gut, just imagine like what we're trying to figure out. And then going back to where I started with this call is we still know such a small amount of how our whole body, all these little pieces work together. I mean, we know that the heart pumps the blood moves the veins all around, right? But I'm talking like the nerves, everything, like sending everything all over. Those are the pieces that like we're just starting to figure out for it within our gut. Okay. And so that leads me to the 4-week gut protocol, which I talked about in, I have no idea where I was going with that, but that leads me to the 4-week gut protocol, where I talked about how Shakeology is kind of the superfood tool that we have access to, and all of these like geeky things that we get to like love up on and like ask questions and learn about. But then this 4-week gut protocol is kind of for any of that person who's just ready to level up. So like I mentioned, you can read a personal development book. It doesn't mean you don't have to do personal development anymore. It just means that you're that much like leveled up and like a truer version of yourself. So same with your gut and like your health. You can be even in a healthy standard and just be like, yeah, I'm doing good. And you can go on this 4-week gut protocol and you can find and realize that like, oh, I still had some imbalances. I mean, we're always evolving and leveling up, and we're always shifting within our bodies in general. So like a 4-week gut protocol this month might will look completely different 4 months from now, or even a month. And I will say at the end, like a few things that we can and cannot say. So for example, like the 4-week gut protocol, it's not to do any sort of healing. So for example, this is all about may help. So like I mentioned with the gas and the bloating, like the 4-week gut protocol may help relieve issues with that. We're not like making claims or saying that we're doctors or healing anything here. So just kind of knowing like how you're speaking, not only to how I'm sharing it with you, but also to how like you're speaking it out to your people or anyone that you want to share this with, that you're just like it when gut pops into your head. Like, I don't know, I always have that friend that I'm just like, oh yeah, she needs this. Like she needs this person needs this. Everybody, you know, like those different people that like have shared their stories and their struggles with you. And you just sit there and you're like, I'm trying to figure out how to help, but you know, we don't have all these tools. Like Autumn created this with a ton of nutritionists, doctors, over 5 years of experience of like deep diving into this is where kind of all of this came about. And kind of the main things that are focused on this 4-week gut protocol is the pre and probiotics and the digestive enzymes. So this is kind of, and it's 4 weeks. So getting your gut back in balance from years of misuse and misguidance. So even like I mentioned, the workouts, when you do back to back, like 9-week control freak, it's not a bad program. None of these programs are bad. It's just, we get so excited and we also feel the thrill and the success of being able to do something that we couldn't do before, that we just like pounded into our bodies over and over without taking any breaks. Like we start to like push off rest days. I know that I do not remember the last time I had a scheduled rest day. I accidentally make them every 1 to 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks. I know I am that person 100% that does not know how to rest my body. And in turn, like that is where these stressors come from. And that's why I'm most excited for it too, is because I know that I need to be more regular and like consistent in my bathroom breaks and like figuring all that out too. So I know that this is going to help me personally. And so I know that it's going to help other people as well. All right, so the 4 things she's going to talk about in the 4-week gut protocol, and there's a ton of training on this, I'm just going to give you a really brief overview, is all about removing, replacing, re-inoculating and repair. So basically you need the vegan Shakeology to do this. She's basically gonna remove any of the irritants, the like standard irritants to our digestion and our gut, and then replacing those with different nourishing foods. And then you're slowly gonna reintroduce, and you don't have to either. There's just ways to reintroduce and letting that body kind of repair in that natural state. So the 4-week gut protocol is meant to be done with the 4 weeks for everybody fitness program. And this is because this program is low impact. It is 4 days a week and it's 4 weeks for everybody. So basically how the ultimate reset is kind of its own standalone nutrition program. So is the 4-week gut protocol. So like we wouldn't be intertwining these with anything else. You can do 4 weeks for everybody, the workout program by itself. But you can't do the gut protocol with Portion Fix. She'll bring in pieces of that, or with To Be Mindset. She'll bring in pieces of that within it. But it's its own like nutrition program plan for those 4 weeks. So like I mentioned, this yoga, this 4 weeks for everybody, use with the gut protocol or as a standalone. Whoops, spelled that wrong. 4 days a week, less than 30 minutes. You'll need dumbbells and a core ball. And I mentioned like where we find these stressors with the physical body, a part of our gut health is where we keep like hammering in these same workouts over and over and over, and we don't take those effective breaks, and kind of letting our body fully like take in what we're working with, letting that repair system happen, really replacing these enzymes that have been damaged, or we've thrown all of these like food on top of food on top of food. I know I'm an emotional eater. So, I mean, I'm healing 20 years of me being full and then putting more food on top of it. So imagine what happens when your enzymes are trying to do their job eating this food, and then more food comes on it, and then they start eating it all together. And then you have this undigested food down here killing these enzymes and just like damaging the whole system. So basically that's what I'm like super excited to kind of have this whole protocol of replacing those prebiotics and probiotics, and then getting those enzymes back into balance. And then there's like a whole training, not even training, like a website, and I'll share all of that. I'll post this in the team page, and then I'll put links down below as well, like in the comments, that will be more details if you want to like dive deeper into what is Shakeology, why Darian Olien is like my favorite guy ever. If you haven't heard of the Down to Earth Netflix series yet, I highly recommend jumping into that. But I'll also share with you Autumn's specific training page that kind of shares, not only does she provide you marketing materials, but she'll also share like deeper as to what is the gut protocol. This is like a whole week of training going down right now. And that's where I found myself geeking out all day long today. So I feel like that is where I'm at right now. So I will open it up to any questions. I said I would have the chats open, but I haven't read any of it. So if you guys have any specific questions, feel free to unmute or just type it in the chat. I'm going to quickly scroll through and take a minute to breathe. I love it, Tracy. Don't worry, it's just me chatting. Cool. Made it to the end. Got it. What else? Let's see. If there aren't any questions, I might stop the recording. And then I'm just gonna make sure I didn't miss anything that I love down here. That's almost so much fun. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. And yeah. Oh shit. Nope, I stopped the sharing. Sorry.